All right, folks, check it out. This is what we do all day, every day, twice on Sunday, whether it's a professional athlete, whether it's a high-level coach, whether it's a CEO businessman, no matter or woman, no matter who it is, we are bringing forth to you a constant level of education and how to get to go from hello to yes, to get from one destination to the next destination by following rituals, habits, and we just hunt down success. That's what we do. Today we have with us none other than Bill Spadea, the host of the #1 radio show here in New Jersey from 6 to 10 a.m. every day, all day, as well as the founder of the Common Sense Club. What's up, brother? How you doing today, man?
Great to see you, Rob. Thanks for having me in here.
It is like...
Love the studio.
Thank you.
Love Red Bank.
Red Bank
Jersey's
is
great,
awesome, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Jersey is great, by the way.
Jersey's
For all the
great.
folks that don't know anything about New Jersey, it is great. So we're going to get into a really cool story today. And as all you folks know, whenever we have a guest on here, we like to hear about their journey and where it all started. So as we get into how Bill got to where he is now, including 6 years on Fox TV, correct?
Yeah, we had a great show called Chasing News on Fox 5 in New York, My 9 in North Jersey, ran for 7 years on Fox.
Which is a long time, right? I mean,
yeah,
considering...
Well, when we started it, it was every couple of weeks. So like, we may not make it next month.
So it was
We're
just
not sure.
Constantly
We don't know.
climbing the wall of danger.
Every day.
And what were you guys doing? What was the show all about?
It started as Chasing New Jersey.
Yep.
And the idea was that people are fascinated by Jersey. So much happens in this state, some good, some crazy.
Yep.
So they're like, Chasing New Jersey, there's a national fascination with our state. Launched the show. The whole concept was TMZ style news. So I hosted it. And we had 7 or 8 reporters around desks. So if you've watched TMZ,
Yep.
it's just they're popcorning back and forth. Same thing.
So you modeled it. You were modeling.
We modeled it after that. We so the reporter would deliver the story.
Yep.
I would set it up. They deliver the story, and then we would have a news discussion about it.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into Chasing News, and then it was Chasing News with Bill Spadea.
Yeah. So Bill.
Although that's when it got canceled after that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe that wasn't the best idea.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you know what? The redemption tour is going to be even better. But with that, let me ask you a question, because everyone that's watching here typically are entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lonely journey, right? You
Yeah.
know, to climb the wall of success, it's not a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So when you were doing this particular thing for 7 years, what was it like hours per week? Like how much time and effort did you actually have to put into that 1 hour show?
So that is a great question. There's a difference. So I do radio now, and radio is much different because it's live, it's in the moment.
Yep.
Taping a show for an hour takes a lot longer.
Yep.
It takes a lot longer. We were a half-hour show, so 22 and a half minutes of content in this show. And we would start at 11 o'clock in the morning and you'd run through, because you got to have the reporters grab the stories, chase the stories, get the video in. And it was the post-production, the guys that do the post-production.
They are a miracle.
And my goal was to learn every part of the TV process. So,
and you actually did, that was intentional as you were doing it. You wanted to learn the whole game within the game.
The computer programming was way beyond my level of expertise, but
as a general contractor.
Just to see what they were doing, so you knew that if you had 7 minutes of content and you had to crush that down to 2.5 minutes, making the decision on what stays, what goes, what made more sense, what angles were good. The editors, incredible work. The guys that are not on camera, honestly, are doing the heavy lift.
Yeah,
they're really doing the heavy lift. For me, I love to talk. I'm always talking. So it was I found a career that made sense, but it took me a long time to get there.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So folks, I want you to listen to Bill as he speaks, because he's so dynamic. Every word counts. There's intentionality. And that didn't just show up on Monday at the front door. It took time, TIME, things I must learn. We always talk about that. There is no overnight success. It's 10 years in the making. But watch his influence, watch his body language, and watch how he communicates. Because whatever kind of sales you're in right now, this is really how you go from hello to yes with integrity. So, Bill, let me ask you a quick question. Where did it all start? Where are you from?
So, first of all, I'll get into that, but I want to mention one thing that you just said. When you said sales, and everybody watching, I have had a wild journey. I've been in real estate. I've been in manufacturing. I'm an actual film producer now. But what I told everybody, and I spent a lot of time in real estate sales. I'm a broker. I was a broker in 7 states. I'm now still a broker in 3.
And we will get into that.
Yeah,
So you know,
it's all sales. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's all sales.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling a concept, you're selling a movie, you're selling a timeshare. I got my start selling timeshare.
Wow.
I loved it.
Interesting.
I loved it. 3 years selling timeshare. But I go back. I was born in Camden, Lady of Lourdes Hospital.
Really?
Yeah, I mean Camden.
Well, I'm not gonna say what year, but I get. So you,
I'm
you were
53.
born
I
in
was
that.
born in '69. I'm 53
Got it.
years old. It's been a a 40-year journey because
Were you
I
in
started
grammar
working
school?
when I was 12 years old.
You told me that.
Yeah.
Were you in grammar school in that area?
No, I was born in Camden, and then when I was 2, my family moved to Cherry Hill. I
Okay,
grew up in
so
Cherry
you're
Hill.
that part of Jersey.
Yeah,
that's where you cut
and
your
that was
teeth.
South Jersey. So you're Philadelphia oriented.
So you have a Philly flavor to you.
Yeah, I did, but
some
we
level.
spent more time. Honestly, I spent so much time in Boston. I met my wife Jody, married 28 years.
Jody's in the house.
She's here.
Yep. What's up, Jody?
28 years she's put
Wow.
up with me.
That's
I know,
amazing.
right? We met in Boston. We've lived everywhere. So we lived in DC for a time. We lived in Boston. I was, raised in South Jersey, but we spent more time, and most of our married life has been living in North Jersey.
Now, where
orbit
part?
of New York. So we live in Princeton now, and
Okay,
I love it.
great.
Center of the state, love it.
Unbelievable.
But I started, my dad had me working. We had a machine shop.
Yeah.
And my job at 12 years old was to walk between the screw machines.
Yeah.
So they're basically lathe machines. You put the bar stock in, and the machine comes in and cuts these little parts out, screws essentially.
Yeah.
And my job, because they're spitting oil, spitting scrap, I had to walk in between these rows of machines with basically a garden hoe that was flattened out as a scraper, spreading oil zorb and then scraping it up and shoveling it into buckets.
And how many siblings was it?
Yeah, 2 brothers.
Are you
Two
youngest
younger
old?
brothers. I'm the oldest.
So you were the oldest. So
I
you
don't
felt-
remember them working at 12 years old
No,
in
they
the shop.
didn't.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just,
I'm
I
the
don't know.
youngest, and
Just thinking.
trust
You
me,
didn't do
they-
that, right?
No. There's no rules when I came along.
No.
So let me ask you this: growing up as the oldest, did you feel a level of responsibility early on?
Yeah, no question. It was almost life is trial and error at that point because there's
And you
nobody
knew
ahead
that
of you.
though, right? Like you understood that concept.
I
early
understood
on.
it young because my dad was an entrepreneur.
Got it.
So I
Talk
was
about that,
dealing
please.
with the stress that
Of
when
him.
you are responsible for making payroll, when there's nobody to rely on except you got to make decisions. The market's coming at you. Something changes. The government comes at you. I mean, this was, this
get
was
it.
60s, 70s. I was born in
High
69.
inflation, high interest rates.
Think about the interest rates in the 80s. Trying
18,
to borrow money
21%, right?
It was outrageous.
Unbelievable.
So to do that, and my dad always had a feeling of responsibility for the men that worked in the shop. And
So
we
wait-
had everybody. We had, go ahead.
I'm sorry about that. So how did he communicate with you at that age while he was teaching you lessons about the people that you're going to tell me about?
He did one thing. He put me to work.
Love it.
There was no
Love
sit
it.
down formal conversation. Let me tell you how this worked.
Love it.
Grab the scraper, grab the bucket,
And
grab
those
the
guys
shovel.
would tell you what to do as well?
Well, that was it. And there were no breaks.
Yeah.
My dad coached my little league team. He made me bat last.
Wow. I love that.
So the idea is,
were you last or
no
was it
break-
for he wanted to make sure that there was no favoritism? I mean, could you hit the ball?
No, I stunk.
right.
I was terrible. I absolutely was a terrible baseball player. The reality
I had to
is,
get to the core of that
hey,
one.
look, that's it. I would have been batting last anyway.
Yeah.
But a lot of people
That
look
was a
at.
good. How good would I be at questioning somebody? How good was that
You're
question?
great. It was a fantastic
That was like a
question.
really good question.
People, because you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you're thinking on your feet constantly because it's all you.
Yes.
It's all
yes,
you.
Yes.
And to me, life is experience. Life is not lectures. Life is not someone giving you a guidebook. You can't learn life by watching a YouTube video.
That's right.
You got to get punched in the face. You've got to get dirty. I was going to school my senior year in high school. I was on a co-op program in Cherry Hill. And
You
that
don't
means
work
I
with
went
your
to
dad
school
at this
se-
point, or you
no,
still working
I
with
was
him?
working in
Got
the
it,
shop.
got it.
So I would go in school 7 to noon,
Yep.
and then I'd hightail it to the shop. But there was
Amazing.
no time to get changed, so I wore the uniform.
Were you saving your
the
money?
Dicky work clothes?
Did you save? Did you
No, it
spend?
was
Like the
terrible. I
mindset?
didn't save anything. It was a
Got it.
mess. I didn't save a thing.
Did you buy your own car?
I did. Yeah, I had a beat up old car that I paid cash for. But,
That's great.
but there was nothing fancy in that environment. And my dad had some financial trouble. I mean, it was by the time I was in college, the business was going south because manufacturing in this country.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell anybody out there in
Go
any
ahead.
kind of a production company. If you're making things, building things. This is a very challenging
Check it.
economy, even when things are good. And one of the, not to be political about it, but when you go back to the policies of the last president, whether you like him or don't like him, the reality is his goal was to alleviate all those regulations. So people don't give Trump enough credit. Forget about the politics and the tweets and everything else. It was really about taking thousands of pages of regulation and saying, get out of here. We've got to allow we need to build things again in this country.
Yeah. And unfortunately, what he did in the time frame that he had, it seems just by the naked eye that everything's been unraveling ever since. You can blame COVID, you can blame whatever you want, but I think that the reality is we know there doesn't seem to be the level, non-politics, of leadership in Washington where I don't think the right hand is talking to the left hand. I think the right hand is telling the left hand what to do.
You know what it is? We have a political class now.
Yes.
We didn't have that 30, 40 years ago. We had guys that worked for a living. We had guys that ran shops, that ran stores, that the whole concept, and not to get historical, but the whole concept of the founders was citizen legislators. The guy running the country ran a business, ran a family, understood, was a local leader. We don't have that now. We've got a professional political class that on both sides of the aisle, they get their pockets lined by special interests, so they don't relate to the rest of us. So you're out there, you're in sales, you're in a small company, you got to work hard. You got to dig deep. There is no one coming to save you. No one coming to save you. You got to save yourself.
Yeah, and listen, Bill just said something real powerful. Whether it's the left or the right, they're both playing by the same rule book right now, right? So this is where change is necessary. And this conversation is really about Bill's journey, but at the end of the day, it's important to understand that your life right now, if you're an entrepreneur and you're responsible for payroll, and we know inflation's at 8-9%, and we know fixed interest rates or any kind of product you buy at a bank is 1 or 2%, and we know the markets are down 20-25% for the year right now, how are you going to be able to outpace inflation when it comes to your money, time, and magic? And what Bill talked about before was no one's coming to save you. By the way, go ahead and click the link below if you do want to set up a separate meeting for us to go over the Epic Financial Freedom app to show you what that looks like. No obligation, of course, but the point is it's important to know that at the end of the day, it's about having the right and the left hand communicating on the same page for your benefit, tied to your core values, tied to what your economic philosophy is. So, Bill, you're now in college. You're a great earner. You come from a blue-collar background. You're the oldest sibling. Mom and dad ran an entrepreneurial business. It's now the late 80s, right? Early 90s.
I graduated high school in 87, and I went to BU, and it was a great experience.
Did you have great grades? Like, were you a good student?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think I'd get into BU today. I mean, honestly, it was,
And back then, if you got student loans, you were able to get a good job. Unlike now.
Yes. Totally different now. And the problem now is the cost. I mean, I look at BU, it was affordable when I went in the late 80s.
Did you pay yourself?
Now, no. I was blessed that the family was successful enough to have put enough money aside that. Yeah, but it's interesting because I think about the money invested. Now, for my line of work, I got into sales. I got into real estate. It was, did I really need the degree for the job that I was doing? I was a history major.
Great question.
But you have to ask yourself that question, right? So, and I think it's less about today getting the ticket punched and more about what can you learn in life. So I spent a lot of time on my radio show talking about kids who shouldn't go to college. Not because they're not smart. Most of the kids that shouldn't go to college are smarter than the kids that are going to college.
Fair enough.
I'm generalizing, obviously.
Fair enough.
But you look at the HVAC world, you look at the contractor world, you look at the small entrepreneur world.
Yes.
There are guys making 6 figures at 25 years old.
Yes.
If you wait for corporate America to come and give you that interview, and then, okay, here's my resume, I'll take 35,000, and then maybe eventually I'll get enough promotions to make a living.
Yeah.
You're going to be broke.
Sounds like a 401k plan. Put money in month to month, hold it for as long as you can. It stays in jail, and then it goes on probation in the form of taxation when you take it out.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you like that. I got some more of my. That was just the tip of the iceberg.
I don't put
more
money into a 401k. I don't have a retirement fund like that.
You're the retirement fund.
Yeah,
right? You are. You and Jody. You're the retirement fund.
Right, because I looked at it and I'm like, what I am not about is security. You can build security. I've got a great house in New Jersey. We're very blessed that we've been lucky in real estate. But I was in real estate, so I understood.
You knew the game.
It's tangible. It's there. I can look at it. I can live in it. I can protect it. Very different than.
So you were sharing before. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to get into this. That you left when you're done with college. You started doing timeshares. Was that the first play?
No. I funny because I've got some business partners that with the movie business and with the political stuff that I do that we went on divergent paths.
Even back then,
my buddy Pete, who's even back then, he got into commercial real estate.
But they're still your boys.
Well, no, I got into politics.
Okay, but those guys, are they still your friends?
Oh, yeah, we're still together.
Folks,
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Relationship capital. I can't express enough not to burn bridges. Even if you don't agree with somebody, when you come up with somebody, the relationship, Johnny and I have been working together since the late 90s. Relationship capital is so important because as time goes on and we all learn things, in different industries, you never know how that's going to come back. I didn't mean to.
And you have to understand that none of these roads are smooth. We are paving our own roads.
Yes.
You know, you're in the wilderness for a lot of your life, and you got to figure it out. So, you know, my buddy Pete is a great example. We're business partners in the movie and in the Common Sense Club, but he and I will clash because we don't agree on things. Great, we got the same goal.
Yeah.
So now how do you get there? But he went into real estate, was very successful. I went down to Washington like a crazy person getting into politics, and I loved it. You know, working 20 hours a day. I love politics, traveling.
So this is before real estate.
Yeah. Well, what happened was
so you cut your teeth over there.
Every candidate I worked for lost.
Oh, great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I'm like,
by the way,
okay, here I am.
I've been a best man 6 times. They all got divorced. I swear to God. Don't let me be your best man.
That's it.
Unless you want a divorce.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we were living in Washington. We got
how
married
long were
in
you in
94.
there? How long in Washington?
So I was there from in 1992, I went in the Marines. So out of college, I enlisted in the Marines. So yeah, I missed that little part.
That's a big.
What I did was, and I'll never forget, I called my dad, and he's like, "Wait, what did you do?" I said, "Yeah, I enlisted." He's like, "You haven't even graduated school yet."
What made you want to do that? I'm just curious.
The Gulf War was going on.
Got it.
1990,
So you felt
91, and I felt it. My grandfather was a Marine.
Got it.
In World War II, and I thought, I could do that. Let's see if I can do it.
You seem to be a guy that, when you make a decision, you just act.
I do it. Yeah.
You just act. There's no like mind. You don't think about it. You just act.
I
And you go
start
into
here.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I decided. I literally when I met my wife the first time, like,
She didn't know she was going to be your wife.
No, it took me 7 years.
But she didn't know that.
She didn't know.
Yeah. You had to let her know over 7 years before.
We were close friends.
Yeah.
And when I finally asked her out, her mother said to her, "It's about time."
Wait,
Took this guy so long.
How long were you in a friend zone?
Oh my God, 6 or 7 years.
Wow, you got some game.
Yeah,
Let
right?
me tell you something.
Right?
Your game. You should be running. You should. What are you
She's
doing?
the one, right?
Oh my God, that's incredible. I don't know if I could do
7
that.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
Johnny.
Patience. But I had a plan. I had a goal.
Tell me about the Marines.
So Marine Corps, what I did was I enlisted in what they call it a 4x4 program, which is you're enlisting as a Marine. You go to Parris Island. I went to Parris Island. I went to Fort Sill. I went to Camp Lejeune. I was a trained infantry.
How was all that experience?
0311. I was trained. It was
intense.
Was intense.
Yeah.
And awesome.
Yeah. You still got buddies from then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're
That's
still in
amazing.
touch. As a matter of fact, a couple of guys, they're entrepreneurs living in New Jersey.
Wow.
One guy, this guy Jeff, started a landscaping company, went in the Marines, enlisted, didn't go to school, started his company, and is, bank.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I know some
great.
people that have like $20 million land. I mean, like they just like dominate a whole area.
Because what the Marines taught you, it was the self-discipline. You learn your limits. So for me, I wanted to see, could I physically do it?
That was the original motivation.
That was it. I wanted to. People say, I want to serve my country. Yes, I'm a patriot. I love this country. There's no doubt about it. But I wanted to see if I could do it. I looked at it because I actually had interviewed with an Army recruiter.
You wanted Marines instead of Army. Got it.
I was turned off by it. Nothing against the Army. God bless those guys.
I got you.
But they were more about, here's the benefit of being in the Army.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want you to tell me that I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
You can't do this.
Yeah.
Who are you? College kids, soft.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
And how long was the whole?
So you go for 180 days of training.
Wow.
And then you are, and it's very intense. And Parris Island, 13 weeks at Parris Island, wild.
Yeah.
And I was, me. So I ended up as fire direction control. So my job in the Marines was math.
Okay.
In the back of a Humvee, you're out on the line and you're literally targeting.
You got to do that like in real time.
You do it in real time.
60 seconds.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, they give you a rifle and a protractor. I'm like, what the hell is this? What do I do with that? Right. So it was, but it was a great experience because there are things you won't experience in your day-to-day life outside of the intensity, which is why when the press gets involved, they shouldn't.
Yep.
So little things like they teach you how to deal with a gas attack. And the way they do it is they run you through, literally it's a chamber that they fill with gas that makes you cough and spit and gross. But here's the tough part. You're sharing a mask. So that the platoon that comes out of there hands the mask over. So now you're like, let me get the puke out of there, and the mucus and everything else. So you overcome things.
You
don't know the limits of what we can do. We're not pushing ourselves hard enough in this world.
Yeah,
we don't know. So I say push. I had never done anything in terms of hosting a television show. It literally happened by accident because I met, and boom, and I got it. Movies. I had no idea. I'd never made a movie before.
Yeah.
But I saw the opportunity and I said, well, if these guys can all do it and they're on their jets and their boats and they figured it out, I'll bet you I could figure it out.
Exactly.
So we did. And a lot of it is just determination. I don't have these, big skill set. I'm a talker. I like to talk. I value people. So I'm able to lead people because I value it and it's a two-way street.
Yep.
But, sometimes you're going to make it up as you go along.
So after Marines, you go to DC? Is that how that works? Or
Yeah,
is there
I
a
got
gap?
out of the Marines and I ended up getting hired as the National Youth Director for George Bush, the first one.
Now, how did you apply for that? Like, did someone tell you to do it, or like?
You don't really apply for it. It was a guy. I was active in politics in college.
Okay, so that was your thing. Like,
That was my thing.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
liked it. And
Loved
in college, what were you doing? Like, what
I
is
worked for
active in-
candidates locally in
Oh, you did?
Massachusetts. Yeah,
Okay.
so we got a couple guys running for Congress, a guy running for governor. So I got into it, and I never looked back.
And was it like a lot of door at that age? Was it a lot of door knocking, or
It was door knocking. I worked for 1988. Jack Kemp, former congressman,
remember.
former NFL star. He was running for president, and we would on Friday mornings cut class and leave at like 5 a.m.
Yep.
with a bunch of kids driving up to Dunbarton, New Hampshire. I'll never forget, the campaign bought this house. It was disgusting. The water smelled, the windows were cracked. It's New Hampshire in the winter. And we would go up there almost every weekend to volunteer. So you're knocking on doors, you're handing literature out, you're staffing tables. And I just got my feet wet to see what the political world was all about, because there's a real process and an industry behind it.
Yeah.
Loved politics, and then had the opportunity to get back into it when I got out of the active duty.
And then you went to DC.
Went to DC.
And that was like an intense time. Was it like 20
Yeah, I
hours
lived
a day?
on my
And you guys
friend's
were married at
floor.
that point?
No, we got married. So we graduated in 91.
Okay.
Went in the Marine Corps. And I got out in 92. I was on active reserve. So I would go once a month to the three. They tell you it's 2 days. It's not. It's like 4 days and 2 weeks in the month. And every time I went on a drill weekend, it would be 34 degrees and raining.
Got it.
But that's a whole other story. But again, you adapt and overcome.
Yep.
I'm living in DC, and I'm the National Youth Director for George Bush. And I learned about...
Now, did you have access like to not him, but like his circle, or were you ever in a White House?
The best part of that job was the president had a hard time appealing to young people.
Yep.
So my job was to go out ahead of big events with the Secret Service.
Wow, got it.
And make sure there were young people lined up on the parade route, make sure that, so I built that youth group.
So you like opened up for him, kind of. It was like a concert.
Yeah,
You were
it was fun.
You were like Queensryche to who sang Photograph? Def Leppard. Remember Def Leppard?
I do.
You opened up for them. You opened up for the president.
So I would get the kids riled up, and we would go, high schools, colleges, and make sure there were screaming young people on the sides, and it was great for the campaign. It got young people involved and energized. But the big issue for me was I was in charge of the volunteers at the Washington headquarters. So I would go on the road, and then I would come back. And we could talk for 2 hours about the war stories of the campaign.
Was it like 20 hours a day work though?
Like
easy,
nonstop. It was nonstop. It was
right.
nonstop, to the point where you were going from airport to airport. Sometimes you had to buy clothes.
Got it. Understood. So you're becoming you're putting in 10,000 hours, like, Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outlier.
Outlier.
Like you're putting in that time that you have to put in for as long as you were over there. Then you decide to come to New Jersey. Is that what it was?
Yeah. So what happened was, so we got married, and Jody was working for a big lottery firm, and then was able to then transfer that into a consulting job in DC. So we moved to Georgetown. We married in 94. And then in 1996, every candidate that I was working with lost.
Okay.
So I'm like, I guess I got to make a change. I don't really have a choice.
And you had no choice, though.
So we're like, let's move to Jersey.
And how was that?
There?
How was Jody? Was that like
she was happy because we were moving north, and I think she really expected that eventually we'd make it all the way back to Rhode Island.
Yes.
I think that was the plan.
Yeah.
And then we stopped short. We got as far north as Washington Township, Warren County. And then we dialed it back to Princeton. I've lived in 5 counties in this state. But we decided, what it was is we decided that, look, you got to make a living. I realized that to bring kids into the world and to create some kind of stability, the political lifestyle was not conducive to that, because I was getting home at midnight, getting up again at 5 a.m. It was
it's tough.
You're not having dinners together, you're not having conversations, and your family structure and support is paramount.
And did you
You
guys
got to
start
have a
your-
home to go back to.
No doubt about it. Did you guys start the family at this point?
Yeah,
Or
well, so-
did you get into real estate yet?
So I both. I
Okay.
ended up, I literally, while I was at my desk in DC, I signed up to get my real estate license, but I went with the company that would pay you to get it. Cause I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a job.
Yeah.
So I got to figure something. So my first job in real estate, I made $200 a week.
Wow.
And this was 1996.
Wow. When he came home and said he was making 200 a week, how was Jody?
You know, supportive.
She loved.
Go fit.
She believed. Did you know you were going to be good in sales, or you just knew
No,
Okay, got it. So 200 a week.
No, because politics was in my blood. It
Yeah.
still is. And,
Yep.
and I get it. It's almost organic.
Yeah.
I understand the business. I understand people. What I learned very quickly was it's the same thing in sales.
It is.
You're selling cars.
It's amazing.
Timeshare,
Yes.
stocks.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. It's all the same presentation.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah, sales is essentially, look, there's a skill set in sales, and I think it's all about relationship building.
Yep.
But I also think it's about courage and asking people for the close. You got
Yes.
to ask for the money.
Yes.
You have to believe in what you're selling, that it would be a crime if you walk away and don't buy it.
So is there a salesperson or a sales coach that you had early on that trained you in the game of sales? That maybe
No,
fine-tuned your skill set?
I would love to say that. I really wasn't. I mean, I literally
just
got
did it.
thrown into the lion's den. It was all out of necessity.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to get into something. I wanted to be on someone's payroll so I could at least have a couple of bucks coming in.
Yep.
And we lived on savings. And within a year, we bought our first house.
And this was just
Took
on
me a year.
the first. What was the first gig?
Timeshares.
And
Timeshare in
then-
Atlantic City.
Really?
And I will give Bruce Kay a ton of credit. Bruce Kay owned a couple of timeshare places in Florida and in Atlantic City. If there was anybody that I could point to, Bruce Kay would be that guy.
Yeah,
and,
amazing.
I mean, because he was a little wild.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like, he was so into his business that he would even pick the menu for the restaurant that night. He's like, no, we're not serving that. We're serving this.
Amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
So-
Amazing. So you spent time with Bruce Kay, and then all of a sudden you met the other gentleman you were sharing with me. Was that your next gig?
Jim Weichert.
Yeah.
Ah,
Did it go from Bruce to Jim? Or
yes,
was there?
went from Bruce to Jim.
And what made
Jim
you go?
was a true mentor.
But what made you go to that? What
Money,
made you make the
money.
move?
I
You
was
tapped out?
hustling. Yeah. Well, what happened was I was hustling, and I figured out that there was money to be made in teaching real estate. So I went to the real estate commission. I'm like, I want to be a teacher. They're like, you can't. You got to be a broker first. So I went and dug into the laws and figured out, no, you don't. I can get an instructor license separately, but you still have to put all the hours in. So I timed it. So I would go ahead.
Amazing. So because I want them to write that down. Whatever the law was that people were saying was the law. Obviously, Bill went and researched it and found out that wasn't the case. Because he was in politics, he knew where to look, which was the commission, right?
Right.
You found stuff out.
Right.
This is for all you folks out there. No matter what you're doing, when someone says no, it doesn't mean no, right?
It
doesn't mean
not
no.
in business.
You got to
not
go
in business.
research it yourself, or hire a lawyer to do it, whatever the case may be. That's amazing.
So what I did was I figured out that you had to have 150 hours.
Yep.
So I timed it so that I took my 150 hours at the time I was going to hit my 3 years of experience so I could take both tests.
Wow.
Instructor and broker. So I did them at the
Intentionality.
same time.
Yep.
And I got picked up to teach night classes. So I was driving to Atlantic City. We had our house in Williamstown. I was doing okay on commission.
Wow.
And then I was coming back to teach a night class in Washington Township. And it just, again, by luck, one of the guys that was coming in as a guest to speak to the group sat in the back, heard my lecture, said, hey, you got to meet Jim. And it happened that fast.
So, and that's what happened, but it wasn't overnight, right? So we
It
saw,
was years.
Yeah, so-
years overnight. Overnight in 5 years.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So guys, gals, listen, this is important. So whenever it comes down to success leaves clues. You just heard a map right there. There is no overnight success. However, when your opportunity is present, if you put in the footwork, you'll be able to take advantage of it. And he was just doing what he was doing, and someone said, hey, listen, come over here and meet Jim, and wait to hear about the next part.
Yeah, and so what happened was, so I met with Jim, and he said, I want to change real estate. He was already doing it, innovative. The company was innovative. I mean, Jim was the one that pushed the open houses and the link up with real estate professionals and the people that were filling out online forms. So all that was to come.
And that didn't exist beforehand.
Didn't exist.
Wow.
Well, it existed with a couple of companies that tried and failed. There was a company in London that tried it. They were literally, the term drinking from the fire hose is a cliche, but they could not service the leads.
Understood.
We figured out how to service the leads, and there was one ingredient. recruit like crazy. So my task was to grow the company from 8,000 agents to 12,000 agents.
Amazing.
So that's what I did.
Amazing. So I just heard something. This is a nugget for Rob Gill at Epic. Recruit, because we did go from 8 to 2,500 new opportunities a month.
It's huge.
Just by doing this. And now we've picked up 3 other relationships that could take us to 5,000. So it's all about recruiting. And Mr. Weichert understood that very clearly, but he also found a gem in you because you were able to help facilitate that a lot faster and turn decades into days.
Yeah, we did it. We did it inside of a couple of years,
Yeah.
and the company grew. I mean, it grew like gangbusters. And my job in the company was I moved around to a couple of departments that weren't doing as well and helped get them back to where they were and where they needed to be for the bottom line, because it's all about you know, like government needs a lesson. Jim Weichert should be lecturing these guys in government. No, you don't spend more than you take in.
Yes. Yes.
Basic principles.
Yes.
And the challenge in any business is you have these wants. I want to get here, but you got to think about, where do I have to be to grow in a measured way that I can, yes, explode, but at the same time handle the volume of customers and do the job.
Now, during this time, is your footprint increasing all around New Jersey? Is there people getting to know Bill Spadea just in the real estate space? Like, what's happening during this time?
I was with Jim a long time. I left timeshare in 1999. I was with Jim till 2012 when I left to go into television.
Okay.
So 13 years with Jim, and it was great. I established a good reputation, both with the real estate commission and with a lot of the brokers out there, because I spent my time on the road recruiting.
But there was also a time in here when you went for Senate, right? You did a little side hustle one day.
I did. I had my side hustle. Yeah, exactly.
So for 3 weeks, you decided to run for Senate. John, listen to this one.
It was the House of Representatives. It was a guy, literally, Jody and I are in our living room, and I'm watching the news. I'm flipping around, and I'm listening to this guy. Rush Holt was a congressman, and all of a sudden, I'm on a tirade. She's like, "Stop! You feel that strongly? Run against him." So I'm like,
was that real?
Okay.
Like, was she like doing?
Literally said,
like Rocky's wife saying,
"Yeah,
do it."
like do it. What you're going to sit here and you're going to drive both of us crazy.
Got it.
You're yelling at a television. She's like, he can't hear you. I know you think he can. He cannot hear you.
And you did.
So not only did we do it, but Jody was tasked with finding the house. We literally drew a triangle in the 12th district. I'm like, wherever, we got to find a house. She finds the house. We bought it. Then I saw it.
Wow.
So the trust that we have is next level. You have to have that kind of partner. You got to have that level of trust. So we bought the house, moved in 3 days in time I had 3 days to spare to register to vote in my own primary.
Wow. Amazing.
So what happened was this is where when I go back to what I said earlier, no one's coming to save you.
Nope.
So all the pundits and the folks that are involved in politics, they're like, you got to go down to Washington. You got to meet with the National Republican Congressional Committee. You give a great speech. You got the energy. They're going to help you. So I went down to meet with them. They laughed me out of the room. Yeah. They're like, keep your day job. What are you doing?
Now, why was that? Just curious.
Because
they had their connections
the established politicos are only about money. And the way they do it, they only back the ones that are already going to win.
Got it. So you weren't there yet. You wouldn't know.
It wasn't even close. I took a poll. I was at 21%. Right?
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's so what I did was I went to Jim Weichert and I said, Jim, I put my reputation on the line here. Yeah. I want to take some time off and do this right. Yep. And he gave me 5 weeks off, and I literally knocked on 16,000 doors, walked 200 miles to all 44 towns. And there were some small towns that we won because I knocked on every door in the town. Wow. And it was about finding common ground. It was not about, I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat. Let's harp on our differences. Yeah. No, let's go through 10 things. I'll bet you I'll get to 5 that we agree with. Maybe 2. Some people slammed the door in my face. Some people cursed and yelled. Really? But I then paid it forward and brought my kids. Now, my son was only 1 at the time, but my daughter was 6. Wow. Or going on 7 years old. And she would come door to door with me. Amazing. And she would hear it all. Amazing. Man, they hated my dad. Oh, like it was like, or wow, he really connected with that guy. So that was just by example. I can't teach it to you. Yeah. I'm just going to show you. Yeah. So anyway, we went from 21% in 5 weeks to 40% on election day. Which is amazing, right? Yeah, I didn't win. No money, no. And you did the footwork and everything. It's all about doing the grunt work. Yeah. It really is. So I then stepped back and I'm like, okay. So then there was rumor I was going to run for the Senate in 2006. I'm like, guys, I got to go back and make a living. Got it. And you had no desire to do it in 6. You just weren't mentally there. No, look, if lightning had struck and I had won, life would have been completely different.
Got
But
it.
God has a plan, and then the plan was not for me to win. But it was a great lesson, and I exceeded expectations, and that set me up for future conversations.
And by the way, you still have those relationships, I'm assuming.
100%.
So now you finish up Weicker 2012, you're now with Fox, and then all of a sudden, somewhere as Fox ended, you get a gig, New Jersey, which right now you're the top radio morning host in New Jersey.
I did them both at the same time.
I didn't know that.
Totally by accident.
Okay.
So my TV career started for one reason. I met the Fox producer. I was there to only do an interview. I wasn't applying for a job. They already had a host for the show.
Yep.
But he literally put his hands up and he said, has anyone ever told you?
Tell the story. You walked in and
I walked in. Well, the story, again, back to my wife, Jody. That morning, I'm like, I'm not going. I'm not going to this. I'm not getting paid for this. This show may never air. She's like, what's the matter with you? Your friend set you up with this. You're doing him a favor. You can't let him down like that. All right, I'll go. So I get there, and it's this big space, and it's completely open. And I'm like, I'm ready to call her. Like I told you so. Nobody's here. This is nonsense. And across the room, this guy, turns out his name, Jerry Burke. He was the guy that launched daytime with Fox. You know, I mean, and all the big names. Like I didn't know him. Comes up to me, does this. He says, has anyone ever told you you have an unusually large head? I said, no, I'm Bill. Hi.
I'm Bill.
And what happened was talk about taking advantage of opportunity. I had no television experience. I'd never hosted a show. I never even thought about a job in TV. That afternoon, he said, can you stick around? My host is not here.
Yep.
Always show up, always show up, always show up.
Yes.
Host wasn't there. He said, I want you to stand in and I'm going to have these reporters do their thing. You don't have to talk. I just need it for the lighting. I got to have a guy. So I was the guy.
Did you talk?
I couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
Of course, I started talking. I started interacting. We're doing this. Long story short, the tape gets to Roger Ailes.
Wow.
A couple of months later, I have forgotten all about this.
Yeah.
I'm in my car in Miami doing training for a brand new franchise that we had just brought in.
What year is this?
This is 2012.
Got it. Okay.
Late 2012, heading into 13.
Still with Weicker. Yep.
Yeah, before Sandy.
Got it.
Right? It was probably that, maybe it was that summer. So I was in Miami. All I remember was it was hot as hell.
Yeah.
And I'm the Jersey guy in a suit in Miami. And that's a whole other story. but I get the call from Jerry. He's like, hey, you ever thought about a career in television? He's like, Roger saw the tape. We want to hire you to host the show.
Wow.
Just
like that.
Just like that.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
like that.
Overnight success. 20
I hung
years.
up, I
in the
called
making.
Jody. I'm like, got some news.
So what did Weicker say?
To Jim's credit, they were thrilled.
Wow. That's amazing.
They were sad to see me go, but
Totally
I
amazing.
still host a cancer fundraiser for them every year. I'm still the broker of record for Washington and Washington State and Massachusetts.
Awesome.
So for their Weicker Lead Network. So we have, and Jim and I still talk. Maybe it's every 6 or 7 months, but we're still in touch.
And he's a mentor, like one of your mentors.
Jim is, I mean, just great guy.
So now-
cares about his people, cares
Love
about
that.
his product.
Yeah. So now you're with Fox, right?
Yeah.
You have a different shift in life at this point. Acceleration
Yeah,
all
I'm
over the
a TV
place.
host.
You're on TV. What was
In
it
New
like
York,
locally for
right?
you when that started happening?
Well, it was
like
it
when you were
was-
at the grocery store or you know-
I didn't get recognized until they started putting up billboards.
Okay.
Then
Got
all of
it.
a sudden things changed and people are like, hey, you're that guy.
And we'll-
So it was fun, but it gave me an opportunity. I started doing hits on Good Morning, Good Day New York,
Yeah.
right, with Rosanna Scotto, and that was great. Then I started doing Fox and Friends. So I
wow.
did Fox and Friends first. I would do that in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm
Wow.
doing that. Then I'm headed to Chasing. What happened was New Jersey 101.5,
They
where
came
my
knocking.
show is, totally by accident. They weren't looking for me. Dennis and Judy, who run the afternoon show, heard about our show launch called Chasing New Jersey, and they were mad. They're like, Chasing New Jersey? We're New Jersey.
Yeah.
Who are these guys? Imposters. Well, who are? So somebody called me. They said, hey, Judy's making fun of you right now on the air. So I called the
You're
show.
ready to fight.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, why don't you come to the studio? Come and meet us before you knock us. They did. And Judy and I were fast friends.
Got
A
it.
week later, Dennis took a day off and I filled in. And it went great. And they were messing with me. She would give me the temperature grids without temperatures on it.
Got it.
So my first experience in radio was, oh, you got to make this up. And oh, by the way, this mic is live. And there are a million people out there listening. So
And how many listeners do you have?
we're now up to between 1.2 and 1.5 million people that
Every
are
day.
tuned into the station.
That check in.
Yeah, at any given moment, you're going to have about 60 to 80,000 people that are tuning, because the average person doesn't listen for 4 hours.
Yeah.
what they do is they check in at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But what I try to do with the show is I want them coming back.
Yeah.
So I try to break up the 4 hours so that there's a reason. If I get to work, and my favorite story is when people call the show and they're like, I'm late for work, I'm sitting in my car, but I had to weigh in on this. So it's an interaction with people. So yeah, we're talking to 1.5 million people.
That's amazing, by the way. What was easier for you? Was it TV? Was it radio? What's the difference? Is the combination? What do you enjoy more?
Radio 100% more because it is live and interactive.
Got it. So it's like real.
It's real.
There's no,
we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I have to be on my game, and I like the stress.
Yeah.
So I
you
could
like
get a
living
call.
Chaos. Chaos is good for you.
I like it. If I can control the chaos just a little bit.
You frame it a little bit.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite part about the show? Like right now, 5, 6, 7 years in, that keeps you going every day?
The easy. The raw Jersey callers.
Yeah, and you're here
They
to
call pissed off about something, and we can have a relatable conversation. It almost becomes this extended family dinner.
Got it.
Where you're disagreeing, you're agreeing, but it's fun.
So on that side of it, do you also stand, because you and I met through CFC Recovery. It's an amazing thing that we both love and have a lot of passion for. But is your message every day there to try and help people make breakthroughs and discover that there's another way of life when you're on the show? Like when you wake up and you're doing your rituals in the morning, what are you saying, God, what kind of message am I giving to the people today? Like, what's your thought?
Hang in there, fight, never give up. Things always get better. Wow.
Real quick, last question. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? If it looks in a perfect world, what does it look like?
In a perfect world, I will make a decision in the next 2 years to run for governor.
Whoa.
And if I make that decision to move
forward,
is
this the first time anyone?
25. I've not talked about this.
Whoa. Yet. Check it out, folks.
What New Jersey needs is, it's great that I can talk about it every day. Yes. And I'm empowering a lot of people. We had dozens of calls today. I dedicated my entire show to local candidates. I had dozens of moms calling, especially. Wow. Many women saying, thanks for inspiring me to run. You've been talking about it for 2 years. I decided to do it. And
amazing.
So if I can continue on that mission and then take it to the next level, I started Common Sense Club. We have 90,000 members as of this.
Yeah, tell us real fast members. If you want to tell us about.
We offer common sense solutions, practical solutions to make government run and serve the people.
Now, how can people find that?
Commonsenseclub.org.
Okay.
Commonsenseclub.org. And then there's an election in 23 where we think we can take back the Senate. And the governor's seat is an open race in 2025. So, Jody and I are in the process of talking this through. A lot of our big donors for Common Sense Club want to see that happen. So I'll keep you posted.
Please do. A question about Common Sense Club. Is it New Jersey or is it national?
It's focused on New Jersey. I would say 90% of the messaging is New Jersey.
But even the people that are in it, though? Do you have to be?
Okay. No, you don't have to be. You can do it anywhere. You can look, wherever you are in the world, join commonsenseclub.org. It's free to join. If you want to give us money, we'll take it.
But they could get stuff out of it, is my point.
Absolutely.
The learning.
Oh, it's for anybody, especially if you're in the Northeast, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyone who lives in any state that is run by corrupt, inefficient government, which is overtaxing you and you're getting no services, join me at commonsenseclub.org.
Sounds like blue states. Anyway, thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate it. I know you're about to go live.
Thank you.
Check it out, folks. Last but not least, once again, success leaves clues. I didn't hear about an overnight success. I heard about a grind. I heard about passion. I heard about blue collar growing up. I heard about college. I heard about the Marines. I heard about getting into politics. I heard about sales and real estate. Then taking it to the next level, researching stuff with the commissioner when it comes to real estate, created his own thing. And oh, by the way, got a radio and TV gig in the middle of all that. And now he just made an announcement that he may be running for governor. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Awesome.